A journalist, of course, sneaks into the park because she's got to get the story. Helen Shaver is the
Oh,
journalist who was married to my old boss at Warner Brothers, Steve Ruther, the producer.
yeah,
She's a director. She's a
yeah.
big time director now.
I worked with
Eh,
her.
I was going to ask, have you? And what was it on?
Uh, Poltergeist.
Oh, yeah, The Legacy, right?
He
Yeah.
directed me in that. I worked with the Undertaker from the WWE,
Oh,
and that
perfect
was it.
casting.
I love her to
She
death.
goes in and she finds him pretty quickly, and it's all very convenient. Like, I don't know how quick a journalist would find a guy like this, and I don't know if there isn't 101 ways to get a guy out of a park to go over the north, south, east, west, walls at once and storm. I don't know. But as far as the movie goes, for the fun it provides us, she goes in, she finds him, she immediately sort of understands there's something at work here. Like,
Yeah,
the system's triggered this guy. And what's great though is the scenes of like the democratic machinery trying to, or the bureaucratic machinery trying to figure out what to do. There's the deputy mayor. There's Lawrence Dane, who, first of all, it's David Cronenberg's stock company, basically.
yeah,
They're bit from Scanners and Videodrome. They're the guys that get together with Yaphet Kotto, brilliant, and they try to figure out what to do. And they really don't have any plans. Their main concern seems to be to how to handle the press, not so much get them out. Like Yaphet Kotto even says, give him the time. He asked for 72 hours. I say
yeah,
we give it to him. And that's actually not a bad strategy in my book, except for the fact that it's probably going to encourage all kinds of people to do sort of crazy things as well.
yeah.
But that's an interesting strategy that he says, just give him the time. He'll walk out because his guys got schooled in there. So, of course, that's now his argument. The deputy mayor, though, who you cited, and Lawrence Dane, those two guys work really well together because one's kind of like, you know, angst and confusion, and Dane is really calm.
Well, and then there's George Bloomfield, who
Mm,
plays the German. I don't know what his role, but he's like, we break the park down into these sections, into the goes here, here, here.
yeah.
And then there's another guy, Harvey Atkin, who's the general that says we're going to go in here and we're going to blow everything up and did whatever the project Tiger Sweep.
Yeah,
Uh,
he comes up with the
that
term
guy,
tiger sweep.
that guy was, I don't even know. In Canada, that guy was in everything. It's so funny. Um, but I did want to say too, I was so happy that they didn't have the bullshit romance between
Right.
Helen and Tommy because I don't want that kind of there was no, it's like I get you and I understand you, but there was no fake,
Right.
we could get married. There was none of that.
I'll come see you in prison on weekends. You know what I loved though? I thought this movie did a great job doing is when he finally flips the switch and comes out camoed up, ready to wreak havoc. And he's got like the AK-47 on his back. And he's of course got the Yankees hat because he's a man of the people. Got the mirrored shades, which he shouldn't have
All
used.
you
Huh?
have all the camouflage, and then you put a bright blue and white hat on.
Yeah. Well,
That made me laugh.
listen,
But
man.
also, yeah, the camo with the glasses and the hat was like, yeah, that's badass.
Well, the reason I mentioned the glasses is you can see the camera in him a couple of times on his close-ups, but whatever. I think it's a nice look for the character. The hat I don't even mind, even though it's not practical, because it is one of those things that signals, hey man, I'm like you. I'm a blue collar guy. Go Yankees. And I get the device.
Yeah,
There he is, right? In action.
yeah.
Nice. But what's funny is when he comes out and he's like ready to go and the music, the soundtrack by Tangerine Dream takes another gear.
You know what?
And Tangerine Dream, by the way, seemed to do every fourth movie with a soundtrack. What were you going to say?
And it's all the same fucking soundtrack.
Yeah, I think it is. I think they just go into the editing bay and just cut a new, like it's the same soundtrack from Sorcerer or Miracle Mile, just repurposed.
And I also on a second viewing, I found it completely distracting at the burial in the very beginning.
Did you?
Because you've got the vet being buried, and you pull back, and there's Tommy who can't go in there, but it's a man alone, and it's like,
Okay.
And to take his own life. We only know that each of us deals with his private demons as best he can. We all hope that Mike has found the peace and solace that he sought. God knows he looked for it long enough. Let us pray. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff.
you don't have music right here. You should hear a bird flutter. It should be silent. It should be just like cold.
You know what? I loved that how they did that though, because they start with the funeral and they just pull back to Tommy Lee Jones, who walks off and then gets the letter.
Yeah.
And in his red shoes, by the way, he wears red Converse.
Yep.
And up into the siege, I think he switches to boots, but he gets the letter and that sets everything in motion. I love that they just do it in a single shot. Like, let's get it's not even about the funeral itself. It's about that this guy's died. But when he comes out in that camoed gear with that Yankees cap and he's ready to go, and that's, you just know, like, okay, now the movie is really about to take off and take off fast. And the first thing he does is he has to get change for the payphone, you know, from those two people walking through the park. And he warns them in this get up.
What are you doing there?
Creeps and thugs and muggers in this park at night. You'll creep. And then he's like, come on over here. And you know, you think the guy's walking into his death. I mean, the audience knows he's not, but the character doesn't. And he immediately goes, you got change for $1? I gotta make a phone call. This is the payphone era, people. That was a thing. Yeah. You had to strategically map out your phone calls. You had to get to a payphone with money in hand. I mean, some people.
Well, but here's the rub too. At one point, he's using a military wind-up phone.
Yeah.
And then he's using a payphone. And then he's getting calls on the emergency lines that are everywhere, which led to a hysterical. He talks to the deputy chief, who then tries to snipe at him and Helen. And then the phone starts ringing again, and he goes, "You think I'm stupid? I'm not gonna go. You think I'm stupid?" So she goes over waving the white flag, and it's his wife, his ex-wife. And when he gets onto the phone, the first thing is, "Who was the girl? Who's the girl?
Exactly.
Who's the girl you're with in the park?" It's like,
yeah,
got the place wired, it's all over the news, and your first thing, who's the girl?
I actually thought that was kind of a nice touch, because you could see that happening in a real New York relationship. Yep. You know, you could see it like being like, really I know there's a siege happening, but who is that? And why is she answering your payphone?
Yeah.
You know, but what the scene you're talking about is they baited him. They put snipers somehow. I don't even know if this is possible, and I don't even care. They got snipers on every phone, so they call it to get him to go. But when he does go, they take forever to take a shot at him. He's on it
because the deputy, he's like, "Well, we're going to talk about that if you come in and if you do this," and it's just like prattle. You think Tommy says, "We talked about this before," like, and that's when the penny should have dropped. Like, fuck, it's a setup.
Yeah. The best thing about that character of the deputy mayor is that conversation, I think, where he tries to relate with like the Vietnam War verbiage, and he's like, things can get really dinky dow, can't they? And he's like, yeah, I was at Nam. I requested it a month in the bush. I was a public liaison officer. Yeah. And he's like trying to relate desperately, and he's, you know, a class A joke to the guy, but props to the actor too for playing that angle. I mean, I know it's in the script and most likely comes from something in the book, but he does play it really well, and he plays it like a complete tool, and he understands his purpose in this movie.
Hi. NMOSD can blind you, paralyze you, or even kill you in a matter of minutes. But we're close to a cure. And with that cure comes a cure for cancer. Go to the Guthrie Foundation and donate today.